I don't know how to start the conversation. Like it's a weird. It's telling that TK got a Dimensity 9000 in a box, but Juan didn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's
Yeah,
see a TK.
I
There it
got
is.
the Z box. It's a safety box. Opens up, very professional. Oh, no, I keep bringing the top thing out. So very professional. I keep forgetting which camera we're using.
Ah.
So you know what? The
So
E10 is worth it. That is nice. I like that.
so
It
so
focuses
you're, I
very quickly.
mean, that's just like a drop in for like a
I could just
Threadripper
throw that.
mount, right? You just
I'll,
pop it right into a PC.
I think I just need to slap this on my next on any of my other devices. I should be able to get the Dimensity 9000 running. It is a real chip though.
Nice.
This was the interesting part, as they usually do. Let me just get this thing centered right. It does open up. Ah, come on. Okay, so it's you know what? Okay,
Ooh,
E10 autofocus, baby. Product showcase right there. Okay,
look at
Sony, love you.
that.
And then of course, if you want to just go the other way, you can definitely do it this way. And then
Real pretty.
opens up.
Oh wow, you can
Actually,
actually
you
like
can
handle it.
actually you can handle. I mean, I probably fried the chip now, but like yeah, serious Mediatek right there. Dimensity, noventa.
Beautiful.
Wait, how do you say 9000 in Spanish? Noventa mil? No. Okay, I don't know how to say 9000 in Spanish, but
Mil,
the running joke was Vegeta would be like,
of
"It's
course.
transferring at 9000. Yeah, it's over 9000."
I mean, that's what I had to tweet. It's not over 9,000.
9000. Yeah,
It
it's
is
just 9000.
9,000.
Exactly. But I liked about it is when I was talking to them is this is going to have the same series or same attention as what the 1200 received. Meaning we're going to see some variants of this, meaning like a
Hmm.
9000 AI, 9000 Ultra, kind of like what Xiaomi did, what Oppo and what OnePlus was doing.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the different customizations, the different approaches they do with it. Uh, but it's nice to see MediaTek jumping into flagship. No longer trying to
Yeah.
just get into and provide don't get me wrong, amazing bang for the buck experience with the 1200 and the
For sure.
1100.
Well,
It's
and flagship has kind of taken on a very broad sort
yeah,
of again, I feel like it's a misnomer just to say flagship and say, well, that has to be a one kind of SoC from one manufacturer that scores this on synthetic benchmark. So, I
yeah.
mean, I would say since the Dimensity 1000, we've been playing at a premium tier,
It's
SoCs that genuinely power, you know, genuinely powerful pocket computers. And
oh,
here it
absolutely.
seems like it seems like we've got the momentum. Google
Hmm.
making their own SoC. Apple has been kind of leading the charge for a certain type of performance
Certain type of
idea for
experience,
a while.
exactly.
And I feel
So
like a lot of companies are saying like there's a changing focus and we need to get more specific. So there's room in a market for
mhm.
Qualcomm to have their flavor of a high end chip.
and,
That's
and
not
we
what
still
we want to do. Yeah,
no, we still have to see also what Qualcomm has to bring in because it's
yeah. A
it's
lot of
funny
noise
how
coming from Qualcomm soon too.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And then they're literally like a couple, not even is it a week and a half or 2 weeks, like literally. So so here's the thing. I was there last time 2 years ago when they announced the first
hmm
Dimensity, the Dimensity 1000, and I was very hopeful. But the problem, well, not it's not a problem, but the challenge when you get an SoC or an announcement, right? It looks great on paper, right? It's the
hmm
everything looks amazing on paper. You want to be able to see hardware.
yeah.
MediaTek even today were not able
Well,
to,
TK,
they
they
didn't
put the
showcase.
hardware in your hands. I don't understand what we're
I
concerned
just
about. You're
I just want this to give me 5G, man. I'm getting bad signal in this room. We're running on hotel
well,
Wi-Fi right
but
now.
but so I mean, I feel like we should probably take one brief pause. Everybody, welcome to the best of our
Welcome,
week, where TK
welcome
and I
back
talk
to
about the best of our week, and TK obviously
Lay
has
as
a very special
TK's on
kind of
vacation. No, I'm just kidding.
perspective coming from a hotel room where you actually sat in on this MediaTek announcement.
Day one. By the way, that was day one. There's another day. Tomorrow is another
It's
packed
another
event
day.
day. It's another long day. It
Tomorrow
starts a
is
little
another
earlier.
day.
You know what it is? Exactly. It's the future. Today is the present, and that's why they call it that.
That's true.
Uh,
Today is
but
a present.
today
Every
is the
day I get to
present.
chat with you is a present. So
Aw, love you. Love you. No, honestly, dude, I do want to say though, I would love to be able to start hitting shows, trade shows and stuff like this together
Hmm.
as we start to open up.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
it was nice to be able to see a lot of our friends, a lot of mutual friends. Juan and I know like literally every single person that's in this at this event is literally a friend of ours that we hung out with, we've talked to, we've worked with, and so on. So it was. It was bittersweet, and it was just still very, very happy for me to be able to hang out. Like I saw Saf, E is in there, everybody, talking great and so on. So we got to work it out. We got to set some stuff up for the next few things, and I hope so. I hope that it does what they're promising, and
Yeah.
from their track record, I think that 9,000 is going to be like I asked them. I said, "Why did you go 9,000 from 1,200? How did that make sense?"
Is
And
it
they were
really
like,
going to be like 6 times
"That's
better?
better." It
Really?
Well, their answer was very straightforward. They said, "We just threw everything in there. Everything and anything that we could have done, short of putting Wi-Fi 7 in there,"
For
which, by the
sure.
way, they are going to demo Wi-Fi 7 at CES. They're already working
Okay.
towards Wi-Fi 7. And so there
Yeah,
was a lot of
I
things.
love
It's a
that energy
showcase.
since so few people have Wi-Fi 6E
I,
in any way, shape, or form. We
I was
might as
like,
well
might as
go
well
jump on
jump on the
Wi-Fi
set.
7.
It looks like, Android 12 just came out, but guess what? We're going to start talking about Android 13 because 12 is old. No, but it was like they gave us a little goodie bag at the beginning when we first showed up at the hotel, and they gave me an Oral-B Amazon Alexa enabled toothbrush, so that when I'm brushing my teeth, the base, which is where
You
you talk,
started
it's
saying Oral B, and I was like,
uh,
he couldn't possibly be about to end the sentence with the guys at MediaTek
check.
know their audience well enough to hand them tools for
Oh,
personal
toothbrush. They're like,
hygiene.
we just want, we didn't want to say it directly, but no. It was a surprising. I mean, obviously they were focusing on anything that has MediaTek SoC, and Amazon actually a very big backer of MediaTek. Everything almost. If you have an Alexa, if you have anything remotely related to that, like a Fire TV stick or a tablet, you're more than likely running a MediaTek processor.
Sure.
Oh God,
We made that joke
Bezos
before,
is
though.
gonna know I don't brush my teeth long enough. Yep, It's
Yeah,
actually that's why he set it up. You'll get a
for
nice
sure.
little chime at the end. He says, "Successfully completed your time," or please
Now
talk
get
to your
back
mom.
to packing boxes, you plebe. Your break is over. I'm
Absolutely.
Jeff Bezos. I don't know what Jeff
Uh,
Bezos really sounds like, so that's
no,
that's
yeah,
the
I,
worst
I, I
impersonation I could come up
envision
with.
a slightly more softer voice, mostly because of the stature, I guess. I don't know. I've never. There was one person here that looks like John Oliver, though, like
Fair,
totally, almost doppelganger, and everybody's telling him that he looks like John Oliver, and he's taking it with a stride. So that was interesting.
very
But
fair.
I truly am, and as I'm sure you are, exhausted. It's been
Well, I mean, I think
it's
you've got a better
Thursday.
reason. I'm just old and tired.
I
I
was
struggled
reminded.
to like get a bunch of videos written and pre-shot and stuff, and I finished nothing this week. You
I
actually went and traveled and did stuff. So I don't know that we can say that our exhaustion is is
mental
comparable.
exhaustion, and with the holidays and everything kind of coming up,
It's pretty
traveling.
heavy.
It is. It's actually a very different approach. Like I haven't been to an event in 2 years almost. The last one I went to was I think it was at Samsung in San Francisco. That was like
Yeah.
actually it was
It
already
was
kind of
right
starting up.
during everything getting shut
During, yeah,
down. I
yeah,
remember that.
During that event, Samsung had the those heat sensor cameras at the beginning, like at the
Right.
door. If you were walking with any
Basically, we
temperature,
can just blame Samsung for being the super spreader event that took
I'm
out the United States. If it hadn't been for Samsung, we never would have had to have shut down. Is
I remember
basically all I'm
going
saying.
I remember going there with the mask. That was how that weird experience it was. But
Yeah,
um,
it was
I'm
freaky.
glad that it's opening up. I'm glad that we're starting to see some shows. We got Qualcomm coming up. We got CES coming up. Although I'm pretty sure most of you guys know CES is not going to be the normal CES. It's still going to be kind of hybrid. Not a lot of Asian, I want to say basically vendors and the normal people that you normally see at the show are going to
Yeah,
be there
the format
because
is going to be real different.
absolutely. So I'm a little anxious on how that's going to be because I'm planning on going, but I'll be very honest with you. It's like nine times, and it's literally like a 90% little mini vacation for the fam. I'm
That's
taking my
true.
son, my wife. Yeah, it's and they love. what CES does, just this whole thing because I get to leave
Yeah,
them alone. They go play. So yeah.
I'm registered, and I'm not too worried if they're going to be good accommodations out in Vegas during the run of the show. So Marie
Mhm.
and I are probably going to make our decision closer to.
Okay.
We're going to try and have a pretty chill Christmas to New Year's period, just so that we can
Yep.
both get some downtime. And so
Absolutely.
it's only a couple hours drive. At any point, we could throw Lex in the car, go find like a spa hotel room off the strip.
Oh, absolutely.
There's I, we're, I don't think it was. No, it was old. It was one of the old Nokia events, like
Hmm.
way back in the day. It was like a horse ranch that they took us to, where they could like we would do these riding tours out to like a crazy old mining site, and it's
Dude.
just like
Okay.
out in the desert.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a part of me that like maybe the first time we go to Las Vegas with Lex, we're gonna go
Go.
horseback riding instead of like go hit the strip. I don't know. It's
As
pretty
long as I
funny.
think you guys are unwinding and relaxing and getting to do things
Yeah.
together. By the way, good evening, Sam. Hope you're doing well, man. David Burns, everybody. Tech Free Needs. Darren's in there. Steve DeRoche.
Steve,
Bonsoir. Steve, mon
we got
ami.
Greg.
We got Greg in there as well. Hope you're doing well. And all in all, it's that time. It's a mixed time of the year, right? Where we start traveling and doing family stuff. So next week is Thanksgiving. It's going to be a
Yeah.
pretty it's going to be somewhat more comfortable. I mean, better than last year. I think last year we still had, I think we had our families over, but it was still kind of very, we were outside and so on. This time, at least we'll have it inside.
Hmm.
And so, but I will say this much: the best part of my week this week, obviously, is hanging out with you, but also getting a chance to see some of our friends, the people
Yeah.
that we haven't seen. It's literally like the people we see at events. We're like, hey, man, I'll see you next time, right? Yeah, just one of those. So,
Well, without the events, like we haven't been able to catch up with any of our work colleagues, and that's
yeah,
now
you and
going on
you
two
and you and
years.
I and Josh are the closest to each other, and we did a little bit of kind of back and forth to that over the last couple of years.
We
But
need to
even
get Ricky
then,
more involved in that kind of stuff too, because Ricky's a
yeah,
good
oh,
dude,
absolutely, dude, he's so close.
and
Absolutely,
again,
yeah.
he lives just in that just outside the bubbles that we live in. So it's like, well, Ricky's
He
actually
can,
close enough for us to do stuff, but it's too far. We need to get
hey,
over that.
you and I
So
live so
bad.
close to each other, we still don't hang out as often. So let's be
I
honest.
know. Well, I mean, we kind of got back into our normal show pattern and stuff, and I'm really excited that you got to go jump on this event. I'd like to kind of get your thoughts. MediaTek has a reputation in the enthusiast space as being a low cost offering.
Yeah,
I feel they've been working very aggressively over the last 2 years to present as a more capable competitor against Qualcomm's mid-range.
yeah,
And now they're making a very clear indication that in light of the holding pattern that we're all in for mobile compute power, that they can jump up to the top tier, start making a more direct run against
yeah.
Qualcomm, and
They're
maybe
very
also chipping
much.
away at some of the dominance. Because I kind of feel this year for Apple was a holding pattern year. It wasn't
It's
that
a
we
little bit,
saw
yeah. The A15
the most
wasn't.
tremendous amazeballs
Sorry.
improvements to performance. This is a good opportunity for Google to strike out on their own with the Tensor
Yep,
chipset. This
Tensor.
is a good opportunity for Qualcomm to catch up to some of the perceived traditional compute power disparity. And this
Hmm.
is an excellent opportunity for MediaTek to join that top tier in a very big way. What was your impression as they were going through the presentation on this new hardware?
They, well, so I'll just say this first. The mood in the room was very positive. A lot of
Hmm.
people have seen the success, have tried, have used the hardware. It's hard when you
Nice.
when you announce a product on paper, everything looks amazing, right? But till you get the hardware that's powered by the SoC and you see like how a Nord 2 performs or how does let's say a Reno. I mean, realistically, we don't get a chance to see a lot of high-end. In one of the charts, actually, I thought of you when we were going through this. They were talking about some of their accomplishments over the last year or so, and the
Hmm.
LG the LG Velvet was up there, and I
Yeah,
felt like a little tear because it was like the LA, not the
that
LA,
was a
the
huge
US.
but that was such a huge competitive chip.
Absolutely, Yeah,
to make it into the North American market, and again, it was one
on
of the
an
exciting
LG
things.
device. Yeah,
But it was one of the exciting things, not just because I was a nerd for LG. It was because we've had so little competition in North
mm,
America, and
yeah,
here was a phenomenal performer that went toe to toe with the 765, and was able to do so in a really interesting price performance kind of way. So
yeah.
it still sounds like there's a component of MediaTek's discussion. It still sounds like there's an idea of MediaTek positioning their label or their brand in a certain way, and that we're still going to have to, even like MediaTek could make a chip that outperforms a comparable Qualcomm by 15%, but
Mhm.
because of the label, we would
It's
expect that that chip needs to be cheaper. So it
it
sounds like
is very
MediaTek
much the
still
experience. Yeah.
understands their position. It's just now they're going for a price performance ratio they think Qualcomm can't hit.
And it's also because this is the time that they need to prove themselves. This is that year where they're starting to get into the market, show that they can actually perform at that level. They're jumping architecture too. They're jumping from like
Yeah.
seven to four. They're not even jumping to five. They're not like, hey, let me just match. No, no, they're seriously going forward with a lot of their technologies. They did obviously talk heavily about the fact that they're literally in almost every home in the US, but people don't
I
know who
know.
they are.
Right.
It's like, when you were using your TV, your smart TV, there's a good chance, my
It's
friend, it's a
MediaTek.
Mediatek. Chromebooks, Chrome OS Chromebooks are heavily, reliant on MediaTek tech. So the humbling effect is they have they have a lot of plans. They have a lot of aspirations. They want to jump into the wave, millimeter wave technology, but they don't want to
Yeah.
go into it with the pricing that millimeter wave devices are. So although the Dimensity 9000 will not be a millimeter wave specific 5G chipset, that's going to come in later. The approach that you see from what they're trying to do here is literally like, triple ISP configuration, X2 on the ARM X2 there, 3 gigahertz speed. They're trying to go straight in for 8K encoding and decoding, um, supporting up to 180 hertz on 1080p. That's even, I mean, don't get me wrong, beyond 120, I don't really see any benefit, but it's nice to see that
Right.
they're aiming. But QHD at 144, those are some new improvements. 8K actually is a very big move for them. But I think you and I talked about this last time, the AV1 support, like actual
Yes.
supporting native
A
AV1
big
support.
deal.
It's a
And
massive
and
deal.
AKAV1 is a big
Yes.
deal because
So,
we're seeing the Netflix catalog start
mhm.
shifting to AV1, and it's
Oh,
hilarious to me that
we're not.
it's going to be on a future MediaTek. If you want to stream 20 hours
Well,
of
you guys right. So we
content,
had that, yeah, and run like they were in one of their benchmarks with the 9000, or at least their own numbers that they were demonstrating. They used Genshin Impact. So Josh and I were like sitting there laughing. I'm like, which is your character? What character did you play? But anyways, they were saying that we went toe to toe with and they keep referring to the 2021 flagship. So they're going for 888. They're going for A15, or I don't know if it's A15 or A14, but essentially, they're saying that we're trying to get into the market in a competitive manner. But you're right, they're not forgetting the MediaTek label, and I don't think
yeah,
they're trying to go into it with well, now we can call ourselves a flagship. We're going to be going to 1,000 plus, 1,200 plus,
dollar
smartphones.
phones, yeah.
Um, I told him, I said, I did ask though, I said, do you currently have any plans for US release? And the current OEM partners that they're working with, the primary ones, unfortunately don't have a US presence. Even with
Yeah.
the understanding that OnePlus is or does have a presence, they don't showcase any MediaTek tech in here. It's mostly
Yeah.
for Europe and India or Middle East, I think. So I'm hoping things change. I'm hoping things, as they see more success, and we have other little ventures similar to the LG
For sure.
situation. And I would
I
love, I
mean,
would love to be able to talk more like
MediaTek
that. Yeah.
rocked my socks getting to play with the X70s.
Mm-hmm.
So the X70 Pro Plus is a Snapdragon,
Except
but
70,
the
yeah, yeah.
X70 Pro, that MediaTek is a phenomenal performer, and it's really
Yeah.
incredible to see what manufacturers have done because it's the entire holistic approach to building a phone. It's not just do I have the bestest chip. It's really eking out all the performance that you can, and that Dimensity 1200 was doing things in
Hmm.
a very interesting way that was a lot more competitive with an 888 Plus I'm sorry, the Vivo X70 Pro Plus has an 888 Plus.
Yeah.
Doing things in a way that I thought was very interesting, knowing that that was also going to be a cost savings on that device. So
Yeah.
the general architecture here to me is really interesting. I wonder, you know, when we were at this point last year and we started getting word on the 888,
Yeah.
my big hope was a CPU and GPU combination, the traditional compute cores that we look
Hmm.
at, the CPU and the GPU. I was honestly kind of hoping for closer to 865 performance, but with refinements for all of the other like co-processors, AI
Hmm.
machinery, integrated radio support so that you
Yep.
didn't have the separate modem. And I was
Bringing in
hoping
the
that this would
5G.
all
Yeah.
arrive at, maybe
Poss
a more tangible power saving.
hmm.
So we would kind of float. I mean, like 865 power is still
Oh,
ridiculous overkill for
absolutely.
most
There,
people out
the
there.
870 is proof of that, and because the
Exactly.
870 is practically an
So
865.
so this conversation, especially seeing like we're still touting. I mean, they're saying something roughly like a 10 to 15% CPU bump going from the X1 to the X2 core. Obviously,
Absolutely.
we're going to be putting on a more powerful GPU. So my concern isn't with MediaTek specifically. This is an ARM reference design. So my concern though with
Exactly. I was going to
ARM,
say. Yeah.
if we go for the die shrink over the 888, going from 7 nanometers to 4,
Hmm.
that's gonna we're gonna eat into the efficiency and power savings if we're also trying to manage another 10% boost to CPU,
To
another
be you.
15% boost to GPU, more powerful AI and machine learning hardware.
A
What
lot of
was
improvements in battery savings. Yeah.
so I mean, what was the sense of that? Because I'm sure MediaTek had to have been addressing that. We've all been concerned about the most premium, top of the line SoCs this year because they've run a little warm. Whenever I meet a phone that has an 888 that performs really consistently and doesn't run super hot, it has obviously been detuned in some way. It's either been CPU throttled,
You hit
GPU
throttled.
limited, or something like that. So
Well,
I'm sure there had to have been some idea of that in MediaTek's discussion.
the approach that we've seen today. So they made the announcement about the Dimensity 9000 in the afternoon. So they did it right after lunch. So there was a lot of Q&As going on, a lot of performance questions. But again, there's no hardware for us to kind of test. The approach there, at least they didn't speak to thermals. They didn't speak to any type of their benchmarks was Antutu and Geekbench and like things that I feel like at the end of the day they're just synthetic realistically. But they touted breaking I think 1 million on Antutu. I'm like congratulations, but it still needs to perform. It's not something on their like they're very. I'll say this. This was very much a PR driven conversation. It's very much to showcase all the benefits, but they're also leveraging how they've performed with the 1200 and the 1100. So I
Right.
seriously think that their goal here is it's a very careful and methodical approach to jumping to 4 nanometer, trying to increase performance and still do battery management and make sure that the system you don't just tank the system and you're not just generating a lot of heat cooking because you're trying to overclock the 4 nanometer chipset to perform at the 3 gigahertz. There are some considerations that some people were talking about, maybe the level of cache, the amount of cache that they did there. They didn't scale up as they were going because they just went with one megabyte as opposed to just just the approach of how they were talking about it. There was a lot of good questions coming up.
Mm-hmm.
MediaTek said the experience they're looking for here is a very tailored experience. It's intended to be their first flagship SoC. So I'm anticipating there's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some growing pains because they haven't done this before. So they were very optimistic. Let's just say this: there was no concerns. There no concern were risen yet from those. I am going to interview Finbar tomorrow, the head of their
Nice.
US PR. So
Very cool.
I was very like big grown up TK kind of like in a way. I feel like because this is actually in a weird way this event was very the different part about this event is that I'm actually going as myself. I
Mm-hmm.
am not going in as TK from, certain publication. I'm going in specifically as TK Bay. And actually my badge says YouTube Tech Influencer. I was like, wow, that's a very nice title. Thank you very much. I will take that.
Nice.
Um, And so yeah, and then so I wanted to talk to Finbar. I wanted to talk to their head PR, basically U.S. Operations, U.S. and Europe operations. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a recorded interview video, and I'm going to showcase that hopefully on Saturday, on the Saturday morning with tech. So we'll have a lot more, also a lot more stuff to talk about. But I actually, I am going to talk to him about that. I am going to bring up the questions like, how do you see the placement of this SoC by comparison to some of the other concerns that we've seen with powerhouses being, over thermal's not even a concern, and they're like literally able to cook things, unless, like you said, throttling is one thing, or
Right.
just not getting the control that we're supposed to. So I'll make sure to cover that. But they are very
Well,
positive,
yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of a wonderful opportunity because what we're looking
and
at
this is running
is
very cool, by the way. This is not
oh,
cooking
good,
anything.
good.
Yeah, I was worried about that
Uh,
part.
yeah, I would have been concerned because you're literally holding it with your hands. So if
Yeah,
it's gonna
I'm actually
burn you,
gonna. Do you think we can upgrade the Pixel to insert the Dimensity? Would that work?
oh,
Can we
that's so
do?
mean. I was literally just about to say something nice about the tensor, and you're like, it needs an
Can we
upgrade.
do? No, no, dude. Imagine the competition on the market where you have you have a tensor Dimensity 9000. Wouldn't that make that over 9000 at that point? Would that not
Yeah, I
qualify?
mean, if you could staple them together, but no, I mean, what I was not as
I'm just.
jokingly going to point to.
Oh, I know.
There's something interesting happening, the idea of this type of CPU core configuration. I mean, as much
Yeah.
as we're probably going to be looking at benchmarks stressing the peak wind sprint performance of the new X2 core,
Hmm.
these single core improvements that they're talking about that have all these really great bar graphs that show bigger lines for this and
Oh,
smaller lines for what was older.
some of their charts were like the ISP performance that they were talking about. I was like, okay, there's
Yeah.
no camera that takes that crap of a picture. Like
But
their comparisons, but yeah,
but I mean, like, getting into the nitty gritty and hold on to that ISP bullet point because I do want to talk to you about that too.
yeah,
But I feel like this is going to be a very interesting market for, um, but I mean, to use a word that Samsung just recently made popular again, bespoke.
oh my
So
God,
we're
yeah.
looking at a peak tier performance, and what MediaTek is doing here looks like it's very similar to how Qualcomm and ARM sort of built around the 888 and this new
Hmm.
ARM reference design. One real big core,
Cool, yeah.
three
Me,
big
hmm.
cores, and then four little cores. We've got a triple array of CPU cores. Okay,
Yeah,
I mean that
pretty
makes sense
much.
to us. That's what we we
That's what we're used
we
to seeing. Yeah.
we've done this with the 888, and we played with a flavor of this on the
Hmm.
865, where it was really matched 4 and 4, but one CPU core, the
Who was the
big
prime?
cores, could be clocked up. It wasn't a different core, but it was built specifically to reach a higher tier of performance.
Yeah.
This to me, like, I would be worried if we only did the ARM reference design. So as much as the X2 core is going to get all of the big talking points, it's going to be responsible for the biggest impact on benchmarks. I'm
Yeah.
actually a lot more interested in what this new, what is it, the 710 core, the Cortex A710.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Let me
That's
bring
those
up
are the
some
new big
big
cores that aren't
cores.
the
Yeah.
X2. That to me is actually going to play a bigger deal because when we look at the overall performance, I think Google is very much reining in the big cores on the Pixel 6. And that leaves
Okay.
us with older A76 medium cores as kind of our daily driver stuff. And that's why I feel like so much of this benchmarking, synthetic testing, Pixel 6 isn't as powerful, is
Okay.
because you're
Let's
not going to
say. Oh,
want
sorry. Did not mean to do
two.
this part. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
Inception.
TK-ception all the way in. No.
But
Um,
no, that's what I mean is like, so Google has two big X1 cores, two medium A76 cores, and that is a very different balance of power profiling than what we've seen before.
yep.
That to me means like we've got room in this market to start examining other opportunities. And then as the Pixel 6 gets a little more software polish, hopefully that means they can eke out a bit more power from those X1 cores. It means the Pixel 6 actually has some room to grow if they can
Yes.
manage thermals and profiling. And even though we're about to jump into a next generation of big X2 cores, that doesn't necessarily mean that we've completely eclipsed what's capable from these chipsets today. I feel like the bigger conversation and the one that we're not going to pay as much attention to are these
Hmm.
new A710s. So going
Yep.
from the
So
A78s to the A710s, what are we expecting to see in terms of power to performance? And
mhm.
that's going to have the biggest impact on people's daily, daily driver workloads and concerns.
No, no, I
Sorry, that was a
absolutely.
really rambling way to get to that
Yeah.
point that I'm
I,
really interested in the medium cores. Is
it,
basically all I
it,
needed to say.
well, because the reality is 90%, a good part of what we do, our activities are run on those cores. And you seldomly ever do hit the high points when you're trying to use the primary, like the
Well, I
X2
mean,
here.
look at OnePlus's strategy wasn't wrong. They just
It's
did it
just they didn't.
wrong.
I was going to say it was the execution that was, it was
There is
the,
so much on my phone that really should be on the little cores.
oh, absolutely,
I should
absolutely.
never be
And
touching the big cores. I
the
just
big
want
core,
control over that.
unless you're running benchmarks. And then, yeah, you can see, so the Dimensity 9000, they compare it to the i7 there. I tried taking screenshots of every single. By the way, just for reference, the hat that you see in the picture at the bottom, that's David Kogan, the unlocker. Just so shout out to
Oh,
the unlocker.
hey.
Always, also is very, very, like, see, right there, Geekbench 5. Like, they always reference flagship 2021, and they're like literally at the same, like ever so slightly
Yeah.
closer, not that exact. Um, oh, I'm going in the wrong direction. And then, of course, Dimensity with Android flagships, jumping in. There's a lot of specification. I mean, and then, of
So
course, we
wait a
jump
minute.
in.
When they were showing some of those Geekbench,
Hmm.
showing some of those Geekbench scores, they're actually not trying to show. Excuse me. They're actually not trying to show a radical. Because what does that say? That's 2021 flagship, 2020 flagship, and Android flagship.
Yeah.
So they're not claiming any kind of.
Sorry, my
So what?
pictures are
I guess I
slanted.
guess I'm just
No,
not sure what it is
well,
that they're trying to say.
they're saying they're as good as some of
Are
the
they
other
saying that
offerings
those
there.
are like iPhones?
I don't.
Is
So
that what they mean
in a
by a
weird,
2021 flagship?
I want to say that I think they're heading. So okay, in this chart, you notice they talk about flagship there, but you notice right there on the right side here, this one they talk about Android flagships. I think they're
Right.
sticking to. They're pretty much talking about San Diego. I think that's pretty much where their conversation.
Right. So that makes sense
They're
to
really
me.
comparing to the 888, which is because they don't exist in the
Yes.
medium of the iPhone, right? It makes no sense to compete like we're better than the iPhone, but
Right,
you'll never
but
be on an
this is
iPhone.
this is what I don't understand about the other chart here. So I think you're totally correct here, where they're
Hmm.
comparing the Dimensity against Android
An
flagship. They
Ant
mean
flagship,
Qualcomm,
Qualcomm spot,
but
yeah.
go to that other one, and they're saying flagship 2021 flagship, 2020
Come on.
flagship, and Android flagship, and I don't know what that means.
Oh,
That
yeah. So that
to
one actually was
me means
very
they might be
slanted.
trying to
It
like make a loose comparison to an A15 or
there's
an
a little
iPhone of
bit
some
of,
kind.
I would say, artistic liberties taken here because you could definitely see it. Just doesn't make. How is it that an Android
I don't
flagship sits
get
of
what
whatever
that means
year it
at all.
is so bad that they are so above, but 2021 flagship they're about the same level. Um, I've always said this before. It's like do not compare yourself to a device that you're not in the same boat. So to me, at the end of the day, they're promising a lot. I mean, if we go through a little bit more to the left on the GPU, this is the Genshin Impact chart that I wanted to talk to you about. They're claiming the ability of hanging in with, the 2021 flagship, and you know that they're talking about basically, in this situation, they're probably talking about either the 815 or the 888, really,
Hmm.
because those are the primary devices that perform. But then they started talking about, running it and testing it at 4K, at 60 frames per second over 5G, over 24 minutes. So, I mean, it looks promising from a gaming perspective. I know how Genshin and demanding Genshin is, and like right
Hmm.
now, Tensor's not able to handle it yet. So to
Yeah.
me, it's a major developer communication, updating software on Google's side. But as much as I love Genshin, it's not like the primary game I play all the time, so it didn't really drive me much. It just as part of the benchmarks that I like to run. But they're gunning for it. They're trying to, like, I wish I had more insight. I think maybe that's one of the questions I'll ask. It's like, what architecture are you building this on? And when you say your flagship, what is the flagship that you're talking about? because it's a little bit
Well, I'm
confusing
gonna
when
I'm
you
gonna
give it
look
in.
up Geekbench A15 multi-core.
Oh yeah, that's big. Is it over 4,000? Let's see.
Let's see.
Sorry, I can't see what you're looking at because I'm sharing the
So
screen,
an
but I trust that
iPhone
you're doing it.
13 Pro Max scores the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max score somewhere in the 4500s.
Okay.
So I don't know
So
what. Again, their bar graph has no
has no
IPs
numbers,
on it.
and it
So
doesn't
that to me would say that their target for a 2021 flagship scoring over 4,000.
thousand.
This sounds so ridiculous. It does sound like Dragon Ball Z.
It
Scoring
did.
over 4,000 would be something like an iPhone 13
An
or an
iPhone
iPhone 13
13.
Pro,
Yep.
somewhere in that ballpark. And because I can't think of any Androids that I think have broken 4,000 in a multi-core CPU run. So
It has to be, but I just feel like
this
this
is I'm
chart.
sorry,
This
I know I'm digging into the weeds here. This is the worst podcasting ever, but when we're
No, no,
talking
no.
about SoC
Especially for the audio
configurations,
portion
I
when
get I
they're
get
listening to this
real
stuff, like we're
nerdy.
talking about charts. Yeah,
No. Well, the nice thing is if you're listening to the audio version of this, you are not missing much. You
pretty
are
much.
only missing some unlabeled bar graphs with black backgrounds and
With a
yellow
very,
and
it's a very slanted. How does Android flagship just sit on its own and it encompasses many and um, I mean, at the end of the day, what they're trying to say essentially is their performance is much better and it's competing with the 2021 flagship. But the concern obviously is so for if this was an iOS conversation, then that is absolutely true. The A15 is going to rock from now till next year, right? This is not, Apple's not going to
yeah.
release another one. The concern, though, is we are at the heels of Exynos and Qualcomm's announcements, which more than likely would have improved. Now, I don't know if they're going to cross 4,000, but the reality is, it's almost like we're trying to talk about, a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. They're both super fast cars. The reality is, it's more about the handling that you end up picking one over the
Well,
other. They're both great.
and this is where I kind of keep coming back, where my dream for the 888 wasn't more traditional brute force compute power.
Hmm.
My dream for the 888 was give me something roughly in the ballpark, maybe a minor spec bump because everybody always wants to see more power, but
Hmm.
something that refines on the fabrication and refines on power management. And I feel like that gets us further in this conversation. So when I see like there's a Dimensity chipset and they're dedicating this amount of space to a certain CPU core configuration, the GPU looks like it's going to be ginormous, which is also
Hmm.
going to be an issue for thermals. But we
Hmm.
also see an on-radio controller, so we're
Especially.
not messing with a separate modem from the SoC that then takes up power, takes up data processing time, is less efficient. Those types
Hmm.
of things definitely contribute to improving signal stability, improving performance, improving battery life.
Uh-huh.
I don't need 35% more go juice if the phone runs so hot it throttles that down by 50%.
Yeah. No, no,
And that
exactly.
to me is what makes me twitchy about this process. I like what Tensor's doing because Google's saying we're not trying to win the wind sprint CPU race. We're
Hmm.
trying to do something different with machine learning hardware. And so this to me, again, this is my really clumsy transition to also talk about what the ISP is going to be doing,
Oh, we're doing it right. Yep. Sorry.
because the camera claims here are
I'm
silly.
in the wrong Google
Like,
Photos library. Yep.
4K 120 frames per second, I love it. Great.
Yep.
8K decoding, AV1, blah 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 blah. I don't care about 8K. But what I do think is interesting is triple camera arrays at 32
So,
megapixels.
and
And
yes, they're finally going into the triple ISP, which I feel like it's finally
yes,
time, and
we're past
there
time.
are
Yes, we're
we're way
overdue.
past time. Yeah, yeah. So when this is why when I asked them, I said, why when you went from 1,200 to 9,000, what was the cause of that? It's because they're truly trying to throw everything and anything that they can perform out of their chipset into this. It may not perform. It may not be the best chipset on the market when it releases, but I think the capabilities that it's going to bring in, the price point that it's going to be able to come in and provide that much services in across the world, not just in the US, when in if it does show up in the US market. That's what's exciting me about this. That's what excited me initially with the 1200 and the 1100, or even when we talked about Dimensity, the different approach, going with 5G. They're sticking to sub-6. They're not trying to go too much into millimeter wave, but that's
Yeah.
because that's the most of the world uses sub-6. Very, very small amount of areas use
Yeah,
millimeter
I'm
wave.
definitely not bummed about
Yeah,
millimeter wave
when
being
they said
something
not
that I would
included,
use
I was
more.
like, dude, don't worry, pass, don't worry. Nobody's crying about that.
Yeah,
Um,
there are literally like 3 street corners down in Santa Monica that I can even count on
I,
getting
I
millimeter wave. So
I can the habit in Santa Monica off of Santa Monica
there you
Boulevard
go.
gets
Beautiful.
amazing millimeter. If you want us broadcast from there next time, totally we can
Grilled
definitely do.
onions on a
Exactly.
burger is great.
Live.
No,
We'll do it live.
but what I thought was interesting is also the threshold that they're setting.
Hmm.
3 cameras, 32 megapixels at the same time, triple ISP.
Let's jump in.
We
Oh,
we
so
we
here's the
think
N22, 1 million.
cool.
Sorry.
I really wish Antutu would die in a fire, and I mean that
Yeah.
with all due respect. I'm so tired of
Did
meaningless,
I miss the
enormous number
ISP?
scores that genuinely contribute nothing to the conversation of what someone's phone is really going to do when you put it in their hand.
I
I
do
ran
apologize for
into two
everybody. Oh,
like
here it
10
is. Yeah.
times in a row, and the score got lower. You're like, cool. So if I open Instagram 4 times back to back, is that going to change anything? And 2 is meaningless. But
Yeah.
32 plus 32 plus 32
Plus
triple
32 triple
cam,
camera.
what I think is interesting about this is I don't believe many camera firmwares are really looking at the full resolution of pixel binning sensors.
Hmm.
And so if we're really lining up 32 megapixel triple camera images and you can kind of better control 3 pixel dense shooters all at the same time, ideally what we would really be putting out are, like, for example, for photos, like if you want to
Yep.
burst all 3 cameras at the same time, capture images, we're really
Hmm.
talking about 12 to 16 megapixel raw files.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll finally get to a point where we don't have to run the phone so hard to have 3 cameras that you can shift back and forth in when you're shooting 4K video. And
Yeah.
because it drives me nuts. Either you can shoot 4K 60 from the telephoto in the main camera, or you can shoot 4K 60 from the main camera in the ultra
Camera.
wide, but
Yeah.
you
But not
can't
all
go
three.
across all three. And that's what we would need. We would need a signal and an image processing
What's that, sir?
unit that can handle
The, the
all of
traffic.
that data. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's what was exciting me the most here is the fact that we'll get into the pictures in a second, and of course my pictures. I think it's a big change for them. Like I said, it's a different
That to me
approach.
is a big point
It's
because
a very big, yeah.
it's one of those things, like we kind of take for granted a certain tier of performance, and like, well, all iPhones can shoot 4K from every camera,
So
and you're like, hey, cool. I still don't believe iPhones can switch from the main sensor to the ultra wide. As far as I know, the only phone that can is the OnePlus 9 Pro. And if we could start getting that, like those types of features, I don't want what I really hate is when a consumer is going to go out and buy a premium phone and there's going to be one camera setting they can use from one sensor, but then that doesn't follow them to another sensor. The flow chart that the user has to memorize to know, well, I can shoot 4K from all these, but I can only shoot 4K 60 from this one, and I can shoot 4K 120 from this one. But if I go to this one, it's only 4K 30. But then if I go to my front camera, it's only 1080p 60. But then if I come back, then I can shoot this, and then that's garbage. I mean,
yeah.
it genuinely gets in the way of every skill level photographer that you would want. If I have to think, like on my V60, I
Hmm.
have to think, if I'm gonna shoot 4K 60, I can't switch to the ultra wide because then the camera app is gonna dump me down into 4K 30, and then I'm gonna
Yep.
stay at 4K 30 when I go back to my main camera sensor, and I'll have to go back into the settings and reframe or switch it back up to 4K 60, and that's such a long progress. I have to make sure I never accidentally zoom out to the ultra wide because that's going to mess up my frame rate. if we can get beyond that, and in something that, in a MediaTek phone, I would imagine this is going to show up in something like a Vivo X80. It's going to show
Uh,
up in Realme's. It's going to show up
the
in.
Renos and Xiaomi's, the Xiaomi devices, like you
I,
said,
I
Realme's,
I'd
even
be shocked
probably.
if this isn't in like a Black Shark or a gaming phone of some kind.
So they
That.
promised first device would be Q1 of 2022. So
Hmm.
we're not going to see anything early, early this, not early, like late this year, early next. I mean, Q1 obviously is somewhere between, January, February. I think it's more like along the time where we saw it last time. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You're right. I wouldn't be surprised if this is something like maybe like a special edition Black Shark or something like that, as opposed to, if the trend is continuing on the way Qualcomm's going, where we're
Yeah.
going to see more powerful SoC, but also more and more expensive SoC. And if the pricing keeps going up, and obviously, as you know, with chip shortages and silicon pricing kind of up right now, it's hard to justify any kind of price savings unless you're going in with that. Like MediaTek is known for that.
Hmm.
So, like, you saw what Black Shark did this year. They stuck to the
Yeah.
870. They didn't even go. They're like, we're not even going to try to put that one. It's cost effective to us for us to go with a 865 plus plus, and I think that was the better decision. I honestly think, and Poco did the same
I
thing
think.
in some of the F3. I think the F3 is in 870 as well, right?
Yeah, the F3 is an 870. The
Yeah.
Black Shark was an 870. The the phone that took me again, the Vivos really took me by surprise this year. Both the Pro and the Pro Plus, but the Pro is such a monster performer
hmm
at a price tier that is exceedingly reasonable.
I
Um,
want to set some time up to buy. I want to borrow. I want to drive up to your place, man, and pick up just. I want to borrow it for like a weekend or something like that. I
Oh,
really want
dude,
to. I
no,
would
I'm,
love
I'm
that.
I'm serious. So like, first of all, we need to do our folding phone trade, but
Yeah.
you're gonna leave with the X70s. I need you to play with those phones just because I'm serious.
I'm
Like in
dancing, by the
terms
way, for the
of
audio podcast. I am dancing.
he's doing an adorable little jig.
I have
No,
to narrate. Yeah.
so being the sort of underdog nerd that I am, I can't get my auto panning camera just to get back on my face. Being the underdog nerd that I am, the X70 Pro Plus, from a camera perspective,
hmm
feels like the true successor to an LG. It's kind of a mess, but genuinely includes professional options and fun options in a way that I don't think any other phone has. It's just, it's also one of the most confusing and intimidating camera apps to get into. So I
It
really want
it
to get your take
I think it's
on.
rightfully so. I mean, when they're giving you that much control, it's like getting into a Sony. I think somebody was asking me on Instagram or something. It's like, can the Xperia Pro I can it take great pictures? Can it do it? And I'm like, if you're asking these questions, then you obviously don't know what they do and what the target audience for. And I try to simplify by saying, I said, look, it does take good pictures, but it's not a camera that you just jump into. You need to know what you're doing. You need to plan for what you're trying to take a picture of, and also understand that sometimes you may need to do a little bit of post processing. But at the end of
Well,
the day, the tools that you get, the lenses,
yeah.
the image is a better image to from the get go without needing processing to get it to where
So
that.
here's the deal. I mean, to kind of to agree
Oh,
with
dude,
you, but then to argue at the same time because
please.
I'm a jerk. Um, I,
Well,
I
it is
just
Thursday night, so
finished.
go ahead.
I just finished recording before we jumped into this. One of the reasons why I'm exhausted. I've literally been sitting in this chair recording for 2 hours before we get to have this conversation, and
Oh
I've
man.
got about 5,200 words comparing the Pixel 6, the X70 Pro Plus, and the
hmm
Xperia Pro I. It's
Okay.
5,200 words, and all I can really compare are the main camera sensors. So these are not full camera system comparisons. We're not
Well,
getting into the ultra wides. We're not getting into the telephotos. Like,
plus the Pro I is still
it was,
pre-production,
yeah,
so
we
it's
had
not.
engineering
I
hardware.
was gonna say, yeah, I would
So
not try to
so
review that yet.
I'm gonna spoil part of my conclusion here. My
Cliff
conclusion
notes,
is really
please.
long, but all three of these are the most fun phones I think I've shot on in years.
Absolutely,
And
I'm
to a
enjoying it.
lesser degree, I would also put like a Samsung Ultra into this territory in terms of
Okay.
hardware. But The
Oh yeah,
GM1
yeah.
refines, and the Sony sensor refines, and I mean we're seeing the evolution of big sensors in our phones. When it comes to the Sony, I
Hmm.
genuinely believe you cannot find a faster and more accessible photography system. But
Oh,
you go into the
absolutely.
Sony knowing it's very likely you'll probably need to edit your image before you send it off.
Hmm.
But the act of pulling, I mean, I've got my Xperia 1 Mark II here. The act of pulling the phone out of your pocket with the
Pushing that
dedicated
button.
shutter button ready to go, and that your autofocus is immediately locking on someone's eye in one continuous action. There is no faster, more immediate, or simpler system for someone to use. It's just once the image is captured, you probably don't just want to flip it up to
Post that.
Instagram. You want to
Yeah, yeah.
edit it or filter it or something. And so that to me is like trading the bits. The X70 is one of the slowest phones you can use to get into the
Hmm.
camera app. Both in the shortcut is dedicated to the volume rocker and takes a really long time to launch. And then the app itself is just a little slower to get you into using the phone. And the Pixel's just somewhere in the middle. Double click the power button, but then you have to readjust holding the phone to either get to the volume rocker or to the on screen shutter button. Um, those little nuances to me matter a great deal once we start talking about phones that are going to cost $1,000 plus, because I think
Hmm.
they have a tangible impact. So, you know, I think if I were to put the Sony in someone's hands, they would be very unfamiliar with how a Sony would work. But if I were to just
Yeah.
say, hey, hold this down and then use that to take the picture, so many people would be so much
So
faster
much rush.
in
Exactly. Yep.
capturing the moment, like as it's happening right in front of them. On a Pixel, I feel like if as long as I get just a second to prep an image, I can get a good representation of that image. If I'm on the Vivo, it's almost like I'm going back to shoot on a Lumia 1020. I've
Hmm.
got to plan ahead to
Yep.
use the X70 in ways where it would just be an organic shutter button hit on a Sony. And again, all of
It.
those play into the philosophy, like the psychology of all three of these phones is so specific. Like I would never recommend all three phones to the same consumer.
No,
Like
very different. Very absolutely.
never, it would
The
never cross
approach.
my mind.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's. But I say this when I was. So when I was taking some shots and I was trying to compare it, I went to the Descanso Gardens. I was taking some pictures. I loved how natural it was for me to pull out the Xperia 1 Mark III, or I think it was at the Pro I at the time, and I just well, so first of all, I love the fact that the button is much more pronounced on the Pro I. That I think was a massive move in the right direction. But even
Huge.
with the Mark III, literally, like you said, you just go in there, and once you set the option to remember exactly which mode you like to be in, either
Yeah.
pro or manual or shutter priority, it is just absolutely an amazing thing, and it just takes you straight into Sony experience, directly into what you're normally and you're comfortable and familiar with. But you're right. I just feel like this is why, like when he asked, I was like, is the Pro I a phone for me? I said, I felt like I said,
Probably not.
because you asked, he's like, no, and you don't know what you're. Yeah, this is it. It's an expensive phone for a reason,
Yeah.
um, but it's also designed with an ecosystem around it, which is different for
Sure.
Sony. Like accessories, first party accessories from Sony, the case, the leather case, I think, a case, but the grip, the display, which I pre-ordered, but I'm thinking I'm going to kick myself because I don't think it's going to work on the One Mark III because I don't think it's designed for it. I really think it's
Yeah, maybe.
designed for because I tried using Video Pro with an external display, and it only does display mirroring on an external monitor, so it doesn't automatically recognize it. And I just didn't think of doing it with testing it out with the Pro I when we had it. But I'm hoping we'll get a chance to play with it again. I'll also say that.
Yeah.
But it was an approach, and I see Jeff is in the chat, man. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's up,
Holla at your
guys?
boy is in here as well. Aditya, our Mr. Cumberbatch of the family here. We finally got to see a movie made by Aditya a week ago. That was actually a fun time, man.
It
Speaking
was
of like TCL and things going on,
for
um,
sure.
both of us getting a chance to play a little bit with some TCL TV
Yeah,
tech
your
was
video on the
also,
6 series is crushing right now. It was a great
dude, it
response to
is.
that video.
I was very surprised. Let's just say this: the last time I did a TV review was during, remember back in the day where Fry's that thing. Um, I picked up a TV from them on
Yes.
Black Friday, and I did a video on it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure people like, if they're thinking about picking up a TCL, yes, I was going to say, Greg, 5,200 words. Damn, man, seriously. I wish I was more into narrating or written, editorials as opposed to just video. I feel more comfortable in that medium. But kind of like bringing it back with TCL, I've been very, very happy with what the
Yeah.
TCL 6 series has been doing with Google TV. It's not perfect, I'll say that. The UI, like the I remember when we were talking about it at the time, you're like, TK, I read some reviews and talking about, there's some, little bit of hiccups there, there. It
Hmm.
exists. But you know what? I got two updates since I've had the TV, so I can definitely see
Yeah,
that they're working it, and it will get better.
for sure.
Um, but how's it been for you? How's your? Because I think you picked up a 6 series too, right?
Yeah, no, I got a 6 series also. I didn't get as fancy a big one as you. I just got the 55. I didn't get the 65.
Well, I think
Um,
65 is the limit. I don't think I can go any higher. But
so I think they have a 75.
oh,
Anyway,
no,
it
no,
doesn't
they do.
matter.
I meant physical dimensions of where I am.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
think,
So I mean
yeah, yeah,
that's
I would have to re-drilling and reshifting and a whole,
I
yeah.
still had to redrill. So I went from a 50-inch Samsung to a 55-inch TCL. This is like such elitist. Like, oh, I just went to a 55-inch TV because, oh, whatever, garbage. And I still had to move my wall mount to fit the TCL just because it mounted a little bit lower on the TV body, which was scraping against the ceiling
The
in our
yeah,
living room. But
very big construction, like the actual unit construction, the weight of it.
it's a
It actually
heavy
feels like
TV.
but it feels more like a
Yeah.
TV. I'm not trying to, pinpoint a little bit, but Samsung TVs feel like very light, like very little is in there.
Oh, so the 50-inch Samsung that I've got is one of the nicer 2-year-old QLEDs, and I have
Okay.
no issues just picking it up, both arms in front, wiggling it around everywhere I need to put it, just pop it on the wall mount. I can move it to the side and like see where I need to hook it up. I went to pick up the TCL and had that, oh no, I'm gonna smash my face with the TV. I'm way too top heavy. Oh no! And I almost fell
It's gonna go on
backwards.
Twitter. YouTuber gets crushed by the TV. Yeah, no, I'm
Right. So my experiences with the TCL have been very positive. I think I'm so familiar with Chromecasts. I like that it's got Google TV built in.
mhm.
I think my recommendation for a lot of people would probably be
Stick
to
with.
lean more Roku.
Oh, I think for my family,
I
I
think it's
totally
the
would
the
not.
the easier interface to use, and it was really once I
Absolutely.
started messing with all the Dolby features, it is a complicated flowchart of what features and settings you get
Hmm.
depending on what content you watch.
Yep.
So I was watching Dune, and I
Hey,
really hate intermediary frame smoothing. It,
I
it,
couldn't
it
find that
ruins
setting.
Dune with all of the
Yeah,
artifacting and glitching
all around
as
the characters as they're yeah. If there is ever a fast moving action, yeah,
or how it's trying to reduce the motion blur
yeah. I
on
think that was what I was
those
saying.
what was it the copters. I can't remember what
Yeah.
they're called, the dragonfly copters. Well, the dragonfly copters are a very fancy blur effect that the
Hmm.
TV is trying to unblur, and it's just glitching all
Yep.
around as you've got this beautiful desert scenery and this tiny little dragonfly copter that's showing you this wonderful sense of scale.
Hmm.
So when you go in and you try and say, "Hey, I want you to turn that off," on the Roku versions, there's an action smoothing setting, and you turn that
Hmm.
off, and you're done. On the Google TV version, because you're dealing with Google TV, this isn't really TCL's fault. This is more a problem with Android and Google TV.
Yep.
If it's playing Dolby, Dolby takes over and it changes the image settings that you've got. If I
Yep.
just play HDR from one of my Blu-ray rips, I've got all of these other modes and settings and options. I can go into PC mode, I can go into
Yep.
movie mode, I can go into HDR mode. I mean, like I can really granularly pick a type of
Hmm.
display presentation that I like. If if Google TV sees that it's a Dolby source, Dolby Vision content, it gets rid of all those options.
Yep. It should.
But if I picked movie mode before I
Going into,
went in
oh,
to go and play Dolby, it changes the Dolby frame rate so that it's not doing the full intermediary frame 120 hertz motion smoothing.
okay, okay,
But there's
okay.
no setting that explains that.
But
I had to
it's
figure
not
out.
even, yeah, you have to play with
So I
it.
went in, I was watching Hot Fuzz, and it
Uh-huh.
looked like garbage because it was in full action smoothing mode. And I went, oh, wait a minute. This isn't a Dolby piece of content. This is off of one of my HDR Blu rays. So
Hmm.
then I hit the settings, completely different page of settings because it's not Dolby IQ, Dolby Bright,
Yeah, yeah,
Dolby
yeah.
Game, or Dolby Movie, Dolby Dark. That's the other one. Like the Dolby Dark looks like garbage. It's so
Don't be
dumb.
tired.
So I go in and I change it to movie, and it finally gets rid of all of the soap opera video smoothing. It looks like the film again. It's back down to 2997. It's not trying to fake 60 frames per
Frame per
second.
second. Yeah.
And then I go and fire up a clip of Dune again. All of the Dolby IQ settings are back, but the frame rate is not jacked to
Up to six.
120 frames per second. There's nothing in the settings that indicates you changing to movie mode in a completely different settings menu would impact your
The
Dolby
settings,
Vision settings
and
when
it
you
shouldn't.
switch the content. And it shouldn't. That's why I like the
Yep.
Roku version, is because you go in and you say, I hate action smoothing, turn that off, and
Turn
you
that
don't have to
stuff
mess
off.
with any.
I the menu system for sure is very, so I didn't even figure out that part. I know, but what I end up doing is I do switch between the different modes. When I'm gaming, I go to game mode, smart HDR. Mine for some reason defaults to
Yeah.
power saving for every once in a while. I don't know
I
why.
hate, yeah, I don't like the power saving either.
I was like, why? It just dims everything. It's like, okay, I get it. But on the general though, content consumption, watching movies, Netflix, HBO Max. You know, just watching, like playing games when we're playing, like I played the Xbox
Hmm.
360, the Series X. It was so much more enjoyable. Like I had a 4K TV before, but to run it at 4K 60 or 4K 120, depending on the titles that you have, it is such an, like that was the reason when we were talking about it at the time. We're like we should just go for the six because of that. If nothing else, just for the 120, the option to have that. And it's been a fun ride. So like I say, yeah, I'm waiting to see what your experience ends up becoming on that video,
Yeah.
on yours. I know it's you know, there's a little bit of, you know, working on that, and for me it was more just, we watched a lot of TV in the last couple of years. I mean, everybody did. So the right piece of tech to help you enjoy it. I just did not know how good TCL was, but I was buying it for all my family. This is the weird
For
conversation. Like
sure.
my mom, my mother-in-law, and my brother all have TCL Roku TVs. So I'm a big believer. So
Yeah, I
the
didn't
other,
realize we were talking about this before. I didn't realize like how many of my family had already
they
like
all jumped in. They were ahead of you, man. They're like, yeah,
yeah.
we're
So here I
catching
was like
up.
suffering with that miserable Samsung.
Sam,
I mean
you're
I broke
you.
it down. I got 2 good years out of a top of the line Samsung QLED, and then
Mhm.
just under a year of that TV completely glitching out and falling apart on us. And really, we
Yeah.
should have flipped that TV sooner, but it was this like sunk cost fallacy. Like, we spent so much money on this TV. We got to try and make it work. We got to try and get some more life out of it.
Yeah. No,
The,
I'm with you.
this TCL has been an upgrade in every sense of the word, in every meaning of that word upgrade, but just it's a functional product in our living room again. It just works.
It just works. Turn it
our,
on and
our
work.
Samsung was not. I gotta say, I mean, like to your same point, like I've got my little Nook, my
Hmm.
Intel mini PC,
Mini PCs to get to.
behind the TV. I mean, I'm not playing any super demanding games. I fired up Tetris Effect Connected,
Hmm.
and what like the HDR quality, the color quality, the audio quality, the super fluid frame rate on a game that depends on that kind of
Hmm.
twitch mechanic like Tetris. It's so funny to think like I started playing Tetris on monochrome DOS PCs,
I
and here I
remember that.
am in 2021 playing it on this gorgeous 4K TV, and just it's so buttery smooth, it's so crisp, it's so bright, it's so vibrant. Marie and I are both like total flow state while this amazing music is coming off of our silly crappy little sound bar. I mean, it really is like, in an age of pandemic, shelter in place, and staying at home, it really has been glorious to kind of bump up our
It it
TV
it
quality.
is, yes, no, no, for sure. And then taking us out last week was actually, I felt like it was a little bit of a grown-up experience, going out and hanging out with adults. It was definitely
I
very, very
know. I
nice.
put on a tie.
Dude, I put on a tie. I was like, dude, it was a lot of fun. But I did actually want to ask a quick question for you though, because you got a chance to play around with, oh, MEMC, yeah, on TCL TVs are called Clear Motion LED. Oh, okay, okay, good to know. Um, you got a chance to play with some tech that like we recently heard from Rode, and I don't know, like a little bit of a something in a little bit of a teaser for tomorrow,
So
for
the video
Fridays.
on this will be coming out tomorrow. My
Oh, NVIDIA doesn't
NVIDIA
like that.
broadcast is gonna blur. There we go.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm
blurring
catching
it.
some light. So this
It's
is the AI Micro, and
hmm
this is a tiny two-channel audio interface with a headphone output, a monitoring output, a
hmm
USB-C connector, and Rode includes USB-C, USB-A, and Lightning connector
nice in the
accessories.
same
So
package. Okay.
all in the box.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I
As it
know
should
I
be.
know for premium tier smartphones, it's really hard to put necessary accessories in the boxes now. But apparently every other consumer electronics company can still put the necessary accessories in the box. So
I love
Rode,
that part. Yeah.
to make sure you can use it with everything you would want to use it with,
hmm
Rode just put it in the box. So that I feel like that's kind of special.
When I saw the announcement for that, I was very eager about that. So I did reach out and hopefully be able to spend some time with it. But without breaking any, obviously, giving us too much information, it seems like you're not
Yeah,
exactly disappointed with it. So we'll probably say it should be a good experience, but that's
it's
going to be coming up.
so video's going to be out tomorrow, but
Hmm
I'm a big fan of purpose-built audio kit. I
hmm
really wish more people were considering audio in the same way that they consider their photography equipment.
Yep.
A different camera body brings different features and different benefits, different pros and cons. Different lenses help you achieve different output. Well, in audio land, you know, interfaces help us achieve certain capabilities, and then different microphones are kind of like the lenses that we use on different cameras. And
hmm
I think there's an overly simplistic idea of I bought a nice mic, I have the good audio. And that doesn't hold true for all of the various. I mean, like for right now, I'm on the Rode Wireless doing this.
hmm
The right tool for you is not a big desktop broadcast mic because you're traveling. So
Oh,
you
absolutely.
doing a
Yeah.
show on these earbuds, you need a different tool that can be packed and shipped and
But
managed.
I didn't go far without my road. I just
Because
as
you're
I
going to be doing an interview
so yeah, so
and
for tomorrow's interview, I'll be using the E10, and it has been such a delight. The wireless Go 2 has been so easy, so simple,
so good.
so
So the
I want to say
wireless Go
stupid
2,
simple. That's how, like literally that how easy it is. You
that's
just it
right.
just works. Yeah.
As long as you remember how your headphone cables work, then
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much ready to go for anything. But the I think the point, and I like what Rode is considering.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone has $300 to spend on a two-channel wireless consumer microphone system like
And I think, by the
the
way, they,
wireless
they
Go
just
2.
released the single one, the single transmitter and receiver pack.
Yeah.
So the wireless Go single, I think. I forgot the
No,
name of
it's
it, but yeah.
wireless Go. That was the wireless Go 2 single or something
Single,
like
yeah.
that. But
Yeah, so
anyway, So isn't cheap. This is an $80 portable USB audio interface, and it's very specific for the types of lavalier mics that you would connect to it. The little 3.5 millimeter
Hmm.
TRS and TRRS mics that you would plug into this. So that's not cheap. I mean, you can find some gut rot cheap gear if you just wanted to plug a lav into a phone.
Hmm.
But this gives us 2-channel, it gives us monitoring, it plays pretty well with a handful of different apps and programs that you might want to connect it to. Obviously, this is going to play really nice back and forth between full computers and iOS, iPad OS products.
Hmm.
Android support's going to be a little more hit and miss because Android and USB audio can get kind of weird.
And
But
then
this
you
is a
insert
very,
Samsung to the conversation. But yeah, no, go ahead.
when you look up the reviews, lots
Hmm.
of people upset with the performance of it because they have Samsung phones. So
I learned that the
it's not a
hard way
Rode
with,
problem.
yeah,
Rode
no,
has
it
built
isn't.
a USB audio interface. Something in specific phones prevents a normal USB audio pass through. So
They're very
they're
picky with what USB audio interface
very
they
picky.
allow. Like the Helm Bolt worked perfectly, but the Q3,
Not,
which
but
is
not the
not
Neo.
even like
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
exist. Nope, sorry. Yep, no,
And
I
same
know. I
thing, like
remember.
my OnePlus plays well with some things that my Samsungs don't play well with, but then will completely ignore others. Like I don't think my OnePlus liked my THX.
Oh, okay.
So,
So the Onyx, yeah,
yeah, again, it's like you've got to, if you're going into Android, you've got to know Android is weird about
it
different
is.
USB audio solutions. So I like what they're doing here. Audio quality is good.
Okay.
Obviously, a full desktop audio interface is going to outperform something this little, this small, this light. I mean,
Oh
this is
yeah, yeah,
smaller
no,
than a matchbook. Um,
absolutely. But that's what I felt like the appeal with for it was it's portable and it's small. But I don't think
super
it was
portable.
intended. Yeah, but it's not intended to be like buy this little tiny thing to replace that big thing. Like it doesn't,
And the whole idea of using lavs, you're probably working in areas that aren't, clean room
hmm.
audio
No audio,
conditioned.
yeah, conditions
You're
exactly.
probably out on location. You're probably dealing with environmental noise. There are other aspects. So this wouldn't be. I think this could be solid if someone wanted to use it for like streaming a conference call, jumping on a Zoom call. Like
And
you
I
could
think
easily
that's the target.
move
I
this
think that's what
around.
they're.
But I think the primary target is exactly kind of what you're describing. If you wanted a cabled version for less on what the Rode Wireless Go do, like, hey, I'm going to be out at a show floor. I'm going to be in a busy convention center. I don't want to mess with wireless because there's a lot of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi floating around that can cause signal interference.
Mhm.
For less than the cost of a pair of wireless mics and transmitters, I could go with a pair of lavs, clip this to my subject, run this cabled directly into a laptop or a tablet or a smartphone, cut my audio exactly the way that I need to from there,
Mhm.
and you've got a much more reliable connection that way. So it makes sense. I really do like what they're doing, but this definitely fits into, I think, a more specific category than like their little boom mics. Those can kind
Mhm.
of clip to anything. They can clip to a camera, they can clip to a phone. The Rode
Absolutely.
Wireless Go are
The
so broad for all of the applications that they can
I
fit.
oh, absolutely Maverick when it comes to it works with
Yeah,
almost anything. Like seriously, anything.
for sure.
I mean, it
But
even
but
works with
also,
Samsung well, which is surprising
well,
for me. But like for
and
yeah.
not just what they work with, but the circumstances that you would use them. Like I use them in my office, I use them on location. You could
Mhm.
clip this to a handle. A Rode Wireless Go 2 actually makes a good handheld mic if you wanted to do that kind of
And I
interview
think they
news
do sell
style
that
thing.
accessory. I
It's
think there is an
hilarious. It's a
accessory. Yeah, yeah,
$20 stick.
yeah, yeah.
It's all it is. I thought it was like a fancy, like add-on, like it does
Like
something or it
a
has battery.
case or a
No,
bit. Yeah, no.
it's a plastic stick that you stick the Rode Wireless Go into, and then it becomes a handheld mic. Okay, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. But that's what I mean. I feel like the Rode Wireless Go 2 are more broad for the types
Mhm.
of solutions that you would be looking at. AI Micro is really built around lavs.
Yeah.
So
Which,
anything that's going
which,
to
by
be
the
a
way, I
good
do
fit,
use. I
yeah,
actually use a lav with my Road to it in the office, mostly
for
because
sure.
I don't like. I know you're more comfortable with it,
Oh
but for
yeah, I
me,
like
it's
my
been all.
communicator badge. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah, yeah, like boop,
nerdy
boop.
and I like it.
You're like It's LaForge, beam me up. No, it's one of those. Like I said, the wireless Go 2 is very versatile in what it does, and I was very interested in it. So I'm hopeful. Like I said, I think mine is in the mail at some point.
Nice.
I need to go back home, and I'll be able to try it out. So I'm looking forward to seeing your video tomorrow, and of course, checking it out myself. I think Rode has been. I've been very happy with their support of creators and just reaching out and working with people, which I think is very, very nice. So
That's
again,
that's literally the main part of my conclusion for the review is you've got a company like Rode where I have been familiar with their studio recording products for over
mhm.
10 years. Like I cut my teeth on Rode NT2s.
Oh man,
Um, so I mean, I still have a Rode Classic, one of their funky tube microphones. It's like a $3,000 mic. I flippin' love it. It's amazing. They don't even sell it anymore. To have a company with that kind of pedigree where their products are still made in Australia. This is an inexpensive two-channel audio interface that's not made in China.
yep.
And it's still cost effective, it's still cost competitive against a lot of these other like Komika's. I mean, I'm not trying to say like,
Mhm.
hey, that's bad. What I mean is they've built their brand on this conversation. They're delivering audio products with very specific focus. This is not an
Yep.
all-rounder recording solution. This isn't a handy recorder. This isn't like a Zoom. It's not going to compete in that market. This is very purpose-built for something specific, but they
Hmm.
haven't given up their brand identity.
No,
So it was a big deal when Rode brought their manufacturing back from
that's
China to Australia. At the time, I mean, we're talking like 20 years ago now, I think, maybe even a little bit longer. Everyone sort of agreed that the quality of their products improved, and it was a return to form like German microphone manufacturers like Sennheiser. You
oh
know,
yeah,
like you would never see a Neumann or a Sennheiser manufactured anywhere but in
Germany.
Germany. And so that return to form meant something really special. As Rode has moved down into more prosumer gear and more consumer gear, they haven't given up that part of their brand identity. And so
Yep.
their products are never going to be the cheapest, but they're genuinely phenomenally built, wonderfully capable, and they're still cost competitive. So I mean, I
Yeah, yeah.
think in terms of the global economy and when we talk about these types of accessories, I think there are opportunities. We could bring manufacturing back to the United States. Australia has done it in very select kinds of ways with things like Rode being a sweetheart in the audio recording community. Those kinds of conversations are more accessible than I think people um, and people
It.
act like they might be.
I was gonna say Aditya has taken us to the next level. He uses his Rode wireless for underwater
Do
ASMR
it.
recording.
Yeah.
Aditya for the win. Under.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it once.
Gary's like kinky. Yes, you do it once, and that's it. You buy next
Gary
pair.
the
That's it.
fireman watching us on his
Oh,
brand spanking new Pixel 6
new it's the
Pro.
6 Pro. Oh my God, this it is
Hmm.
epic. I'm glad that he was able to get it. Um, and I'm happy, honestly, like a lot more people are starting to get a chance to experience what the 6
Yeah.
Pro has been doing. I'm still having a hard time taking my SIM card out of it, man. I don't know, man. I'm getting some Pixel 4 vibes a little bit.
A little bit.
Comfort, ease to use. So speaking of which, I wanted to ask, did you get the update that was just pushed out? Did that
Yeah.
show up on
Mine hasn't kicked over yet. Yeah.
Same here. I don't know how. I don't what track. Like I even tried. I'll be honest. I tried VPNing into everywhere around the world, but it didn't kick in anything. I was like, what if I was in New York? What if I was in LA or Shanghai or
Are we
what if
gonna
I,
do like our Sony watch? You know, like
to
next
remember? Oh my
time
God!
on
Next time
Pixel
on
6
so it,
Pro
bro.
update watch. Actually, I
Well,
haven't
because
checked today. Let's see if it does it.
I was checking before we were getting on, um, which it's just
Nope,
yeah.
my system is
It's
up to
not.
date.
You are up to date, my friend. Denied. No, just kidding. It is one of those
I
things you
get.
gotta.
Really, it just sucks for all those people who had problems with their Pixels because obviously mine's perfect.
It
Like it
has
doesn't
been
need
perfect,
any
and it is.
updates.
It
So,
continues to be perfect. But you also got a
LaShawn
chance to
got
play
it.
a.
LaShawn got the new little update. I
Oh,
know a
okay.
lot of people have been saying like, oh man, fingerprint sensor this.
I am
You
okay.
know,
Yeah.
if it does improve the fingerprint sensor performance, that's great. I don't think we're ever going to get to the spot where I look at my Pixel 6 Pro and I
Mhm.
feel it's anywhere near as fast as like my Pixel 5a because
So
the
we
dedicated
have to
sensors
also.
are just better.
I was gonna say absolutely rear mounted fingerprint sensor for the win at any day of the week. I truly would have been. Hopefully, with things, obviously it's not going to be, but absolutely, a fingerprint sensor on the back will always beat anything else. But
Oh, the
I'd be
phone's
honest
on.
with you.
Sorry, I just unlocked the phone while I was rubbing it against my
But
face.
I
Anyway,
that's for that Juan. That was for Juan after dark. Keep that for the other channel,
that was
man.
a very private and intimate moment that I just let you all in
Very,
on.
very, very much. No, what I meant to also talk about is you also played a little bit with some new earphones, which I didn't get a chance to get my hands on yet.
Yeah.
They reached out, but I need to get back. It's just I'm bad with email lately. It's been crazy. I know October's over, but for me, it looks like from now till at least the second week of
I
January,
got so much stuff. Yeah.
it's crazy busy. It's exciting, but it's
It's
it's crazy busy. Yeah.
and genuine and like so many of these things like I can't slow play because I'm just having so much fun, but man, it's a workload that's totally kicking my rear right now. Um
As it should.
s-
No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, no kidding. It's like I earned it. I deserve this. Yeah, I got them over here on the side. I've been playing with the Earfun. These are
Okay,
the
while
Free
while he
Pro
goes, guys,
2.
let's look behind. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You're back. I was gonna look at the
So
at the at the area behind your desk and see what we
yeah, I
can,
know.
what clues can
Uh,
we pick.
the Earfun Free Pro 2.
Hmm.
One of the things that I've got to highlight immediately because I put out my video on these
Was it
a
yesterday,
couple
right?
days ago.
Hmm.
I think their press photos make this look so much bigger. These are true wireless earbuds and they come in a cute little case. I
Hmm.
think their photos make it look like a really big pair of
Case.
this
Oh,
looks
the
like a
buds.
little brick, but this is one of the smallest containers for true wireless earbuds that have been put out this year. I mean, they're right in line with like the one more color buds.
Hmm.
I mean, that's how small these things are. And I was trying
Nice.
to think like what would also be a good comparison point, and I've got my one mores, so a very similar shape,
Hmm.
but the earfun are
Even
like
smaller. Wow.
ridiculously smaller. So when you see the press photo of the earfun, they look like a lump. They look like a brick.
Yeah, yeah.
They are so teeny.
How about the buds themselves? I didn't. So I haven't seen. I'll be very honest. Sorry, I was a little bit busy this week yet, but I will
How
try to catch
dare
up on the
you?
fly. How dare I?
How
Dude,
dare you?
when we were talking before the show, and you're like, I put out the AI. So we're just for everybody BTS, but Juan was like, I put the AI micro. Like, you put out the AI micro video, and I totally missed that because I've been like
So,
waiting to
yeah.
see to check it out. And so I went back to his channel. I'm like, I don't see it. What do you mean? Which? I'm like, and he's, oh, it's coming out tomorrow. So
Yeah, I'm putting it out tomorrow. So the earbuds are solid.
Jeff, yeah, Jeff, there, right there. The easiest, the
Yeah.
smallest one,
So
period.
Jeff was he was on more on time for the actual like kind of lifting. They had an embargo.
Okay.
Jeff was spot on, and again, like Jeff's videos are what got me back into even taking True Wireless seriously. Uh, Earfun as a brand have been putting together some of the most incredible bang for buck options I think I've ever seen in True Wireless. The quality is good. I don't think they ever win in terms of pure premium sound reproduction criteria,
Yeah, I don't think
but
that's
that's not what they're trying
I
to
was gonna
do.
say,
It's
yeah, that's not their direction.
what they're trying to do is bring tech forward to the lowest possible
I
price.
almost broke the dimension. All right, peace, peace. I'm gonna stop touching tech.
He caught it on its second bounce. It was very impressive.
It's like, what?
Um,
No, it's a Dimensity 4500 now. Sorry, go ahead.
So when I played with the Free Pro One,
Hmm.
sort of earlier this year or late last year, I can't remember now. When I played with the Free Pro One, the landscape was
Yeah.
actually a little less competitive, and they were just a little bit more expensive. But true wireless, solid Bluetooth connections, low latency
Hmm.
game mode, wireless charging in the case, and active noise cancellation for easily half the price of like a starter pair of AirPods.
Hmm.
Earfun's thing is making a super tech forward earbud at the lowest possible price. So then
Absolutely.
the Earfun Free Pro 2 come out,
Hmm.
and when we got our press kits, they sent me a sort of a landing page for the pre-order. It was a $1 pre-order, and then the MSRP said $99.99. And
Okay.
I got real nervous because $100 is the most brutal competition right now.
Right
Like
now, that price point is crazy
that's
crowded. Yep.
OnePlus Buds Pro on sale, $99.99. And Earfun's label has never been about competing directly against like the more expensive name brand options
Hmm.
in earbuds. So I got real anxious. I shot a review. I shot a video and I had to reshoot the whole video because like you can see on my face like I'm trying to, well, I don't know, these things, they're good. They're not bad. I mean, they're okay. At 100 though, I don't know. So then the day before they actually launch, they finally sent me a better like one sheet on what everything was going to be, and then the sale pricing comes out. So they're technically MSRP 99.99. I don't think they're ever going to be sold at that
And
price.
then,
Their real retail launch price is like $79 or something like that. Okay.
okay. So
So
I
now I'm
mean,
feeling a
don't get
lot
me wrong.
better.
Yeah, yeah. I
The
was gonna say
day I put
Soundcore did the exact same thing, but yeah.
exactly. So the day I'm putting my video together, they launch they fully launch the Amazon site, the Amazon page for the product. And not only are they technically launching on one sale under MSRP, they're launching on two sales under MSRP. So MSRP is still technically $99.99,
Hmm.
but the mainstream price is going to be like $79, and
Hmm.
then the launch price is going to kick it down to 56.
Oh
So,
crap! That's almost 50%, man. That is crazy at
so
launch.
it's insane. It's a two-stage sale.
And you,
At at
your whole video
$56,
is like,
and again, this actually brings us much closer. It's much more in line with the price on the Free Pro 1. I think the Free
mhm.
Pro 1 were somewhere around 60. And
Okay,
here, once we get to sale price number 2, we're somewhere around $60. At $60, I can forgive some of the sloppy tuning.
okay,
They're not. I don't like what Earfun is doing to the bass. I think they're a little rumble heavy, and I think they're overpowering the smaller drivers. Because
mhm,
these are tiny earbuds. They're not the biggest like 11 millimeter drivers or dual drivers or big casings, anything like that. They are a little bit more in that kind of color buds territory in terms of size. But I can forgive needing to go into your music playing app and tweaking some of the bass in a custom EQ profile. At $60, you've got very good noise cancellation and ambient mode, a
oh, okay.
dedicated low latency gaming mode, excellent runtime. I think with the charge case, you can kind of go for 30 hours out in the
That's
field.
actually that's actually
Wireless
pretty
charging
comparable.
in the
Yep.
case, fast charging. It's like every single tech point. The only thing I think they're missing is in-ear detection. So they won't automatically pause if you pull them out of your ear.
Okay. But again, at 60, 50,
At
56,
60
60 bucks,
bucks,
it's
if that's the only thing
understandable.
you're missing, I think you're doing okay. And for touch controls, they've got some of my favorite layouts
So it's
for
touch,
tap
not,
commands.
yeah, tap. I was gonna say it's tap, not click. Okay.
Yeah, but not just tap controls, but I like the overall. Like everything you can do on the buds, you can do on the buds. There's no need to ever. There isn't a companion app. You don't need to use something on your phone. So
Okay.
volume controls, play, pause, skip tracks, call the assistant, change modes for ambient and active noise cancellation, change modes for normal operation and gaming mode. Everything can happen on the buds,
Yep.
which is pretty rare. Usually we have to lose out on like volume controls, which drives me
Mhm.
crazy. Here, the volume controls are the easiest single tap. So that makes the most sense to me. Like if I need to turn the volume down on my earbuds, I don't want to be fumbling with like a triple tap or a long
The
press or
like
something
triple
weird.
tap, swipe, and shake it, shimmy, shake, and all of that. Yep, no, I get it. I know.
BS. Yeah, that's awful. And here I think they've nailed the flow chart of having complicated earbuds for the tap command. So tuning a little sloppy, noise
Mhm.
cancellation not the strongest. It's easy to find earbuds that cost more that will absolutely like
Oh,
just disappear the world
I,
around
I,
you.
I,
These
and
are
I think
not
at this
them.
price range, most of the time they're not really focusing on amazing in the ANC. They're trying to provide you a better isolation for noise and reduction of such the things that could technically leak in as you're listening to
For
music. So
sure.
I think it helps the experience, but I would, yeah, like I totally wouldn't imagine like a OnePlus or even like a Sony level ANC at that, again, you're saying $60. I mean, might as
Yeah.
well, appreciate the package and the tailored experience. So I've had tons of fun with them. I've used their sub $50 offerings, and they were always fun. Definitely very bass heavy. Which don't get me wrong, when I'm running or I'm not trying to do something heavy, like I just want to jam.
It's
Absolutely,
fine.
Soundcore is
Yeah.
in the same ballpark. But I think Soundcore takes it a little bit more with the tuning. You're able to get it a little bit better. But I'm glad you got a chance to play with those. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I will try to see if I can get back with them before everything kind of crazy and all the travel and all of that good stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm crazy. I can't believe I'm saying I'm traveling. I'm
I mean,
still
I'm stoked for you there.
I
I'm jealous and anxious. Like, oh no, I'm gonna
I
have to get on an
wanted I
airplane.
honestly the if there was one thing that would make this trip better, honestly, it would be you and I teaming up on this and just literally covering it together. And I think that was I was talking to Ricky and I was telling him I said I miss CES specifically because I got a chance to spend some time with
Yeah,
Juan. We would go up and down Caesars and we're like running down from one motherboard manufacturer to another. But of course, Juan had his whole team of entourage
the
of production crew.
entourage.
It was an entourage, my friend. I got to see you as the talent. No, I'm not. Sorry. The air quote was not because he's not a talent. It's because Juan Carlos, the star. He's such a down to earth type of person, but I no, but you know what I mean. It was a fun thing. Absolutely, yeah, right there. The Liberty Free Boroughs are some of my favorite, and I truly love them. They work LDAC works amazing. I love them on my
For sure.
Pixel 6 Pro, and when I had to make a decision, do I want to hook this guy up or do I want to just go like, no, just put them in. Juan's been doing it for the last couple of months maybe. You've been budding it the whole time, so I'm like, why not? Let's kick it up there. Um,
Yeah, this is. I mean, and again, like I've got to praise Jeff's videos for getting me back
oh,
on
always,
track
absolutely,
a
yeah. El
couple years
Jefe's
ago.
Jeff's videos are true
On point,
products of
just on
passion.
point.
Well, they're product of passion too. You
Yeah.
could see how much he enjoys putting that type of content together and it comes through. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
for
there's some
sure.
people that will do 30 minute videos, but at the end of the day, you're like, well, what were you trying to say, dude? You know what I mean?
It's
But
like I love it when I get to the end of the video and like the person making the video literally cannot answer the
the
question,
question that he posed
did
at the
I
beginning of the
like
video,
the product?
yeah,
And
like,
they're like,
what?
well, this is a thing with this stuff, and I think this is different, and I'm like, could you just tell me if
Yay,
you liked
nay.
it? And then
Blink
from there
twice
you
if you
can
like
get
it.
more
Yeah,
specific on things. But
yeah,
this entire year for earbuds has really shown that all manufacturers are interested in picking up that
better.
accessory purchase, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of our phones lost good support for dongle DACs, pass through dongles,
Oh yeah. They're
headphone
not. There
jacks, all that
no
stuff.
more dongles accessory included. No headphones accessories at all. Like it is seriously.
So,
Even if they have a headphone, they don't include anything for it.
but at the
But
same
yeah.
time, companies that aren't audio brands have come out with some solid options
Hmm.
that it makes me cranky that that's kind of like the consumer push, but at least they're not garbage. Like I've got to throw a shout out. Like if you get some TCL moves, those
Oh, the
600s,
S6. Oh man,
they're pretty
massive
good.
surprise. Really nice for
The
sure.
the Vivo earbuds, aptech or one of the first options with aptX adaptive,
Hmm.
pretty good. They're pretty good. There is a tangible difference when an audio brand kicks out earbuds at the same price as a consumer brand. And that conversation just gets ratcheted when you're talking about a company like One More, when you're
Hmm.
talking about a company like Soundcore. And then once you start climbing up and you start talking about like Sennheisers and Sonys, it's a
Yeah, yeah,
completely different conversation. But
yep.
I'm playing with Earfuns, great communicator all rounder buds. The TCLs and the Vivo buds, great all rounder communicator buds. The OnePlus buds, really solid. I
Oh,
like these
absolutely.
buds. They're
I,
techy. They try and create an experience that's less consumer intimidating. Awesome. You pop in some sound cores. That is a different listening, active listening conversation than what I would gravitate towards with like my TCLs, my
mhm.
Vivos, etc. And so that to
It's a
me is
different.
what's really getting exciting is, and again, kind of gleaning this from some of Jeff's videos too. There's some earbuds that are great for connecting to your voice assistant. There are some earbuds that are really like your perfect companions for listening to podcasts. Like there's just a vibe. I put them in my ears, and these are for phone calls and for speech.
Yep.
Spoken word recordings of some kind. And then there are some where I kind of want to sit back and I want to listen to some music. And then there are
Hmm.
some where, like, man, maybe the only thing these things do well is play games, and everything else is garbage. But I know I like what these things do to my games. If
Yeah.
if true wireless really is going to continue to grow beyond just the cynical cash grab, I need the wealth of options in wireless that I've got in cabled audio. We're not there
Hmm.
yet, but I do feel we're building towards that, and hopefully it's a
I,
little
I,
less
s- I
ratchety on
saw
consumers.
I saw an article, and I don't know where it was a post on Twitter talking about the younger generation starting to idolize wired connection,
Hmm.
just to be an anti-wireless for the sake of being anti-wireless kind of an experience. And I feel like that's such a good movement to rebel against in
Oh,
a
hell
weird
yeah.
way. Like, it's more effective, it's much more effective, and it'll last you. And you probably are getting better audio out of it just for the fact that you're using wired. But yeah, no, Juan said
I
everything
did
is
not
trash.
say it was trash. No, so to your point, I do feel there's going to be a generational conversation about things like electronic waste.
Yeah, we
I
are
think we're in
setting,
a
we're
middle
setting,
point right now where there's an explosion of true wireless, and we're all very impressed with the novelty of individual earbuds that connect wirelessly and have their own batteries. And this is really nifty. And then you fire up a movie like Shang-Chi.
mhm.
Shang-Chi uses cabled earbuds. Almost everyone who you see using some type of audio product is
They're
using
using wired.
cabled headphones. The bus driver in the beginning action sequence should not have been
Yeah,
wearing
wired
headphones while operating a bus, but they're cabled headphones. And I feel we're going to round a corner where a convenience of wireless is going to be one type of convenience, but consumers are still going to acknowledge the disposal of those matters. You're not getting a more convenient product in the long term because you've got to deal with batteries and degradation and
Yeah,
charging and all
absolutely.
these
Yeah.
other
How do you,
aspects.
exactly.
And really, the right option, the right solution is I need a couple different choices. I need a pair of cabled headphones, a pair of wireless headphones, and then maybe something sporty. And if I've got solutions for different things, then I can kind of pick and choose. I mean, for myself personally, I would need work earbuds, fun
On
earbuds,
earbuds.
work cans, travel cans, and then still probably something open ear, like some bone conduction. I
Yeah.
would need 5 different solutions to feel like I've got most of my bases covered, and I still wouldn't feel like I got it all. But
I, no,
that's kind of what I would need to do.
would like to round it up. No, no, absolutely. Oh, dude.
We got Josh.
Mr. Vergara himself is in the chat, man. Hope you're doing well, man.
Hello.
So Josh and I were hanging out. I left him at dinner with everybody else. Um, it was like no, I was like I gotta go back, I gotta go back. So I was like texting Juan on the way back, and I was like, hey, I'm on my way back. Do you mind just tweeting about the show just to get people excited? Um, so, but yeah, no, Josh has been doing great. He and I were sitting next, we were like buddies. We're sitting next to each other. And he's rocking that new MacBook 14. So very,
I'm I'm
I,
glad guys like him are. It's him and Tech Tablets.
yeah.
Like I've been kind of jonesing on their commentary. I'm not going to be buying Apple. I'm critically excited for what Apple is doing in that compute space.
Hmm.
Um, I'm hoping this is going to spur on the kind of competition in x86 and in ARM that is going to take a lot of products up to a higher tier of performance. And what the M1 Max, or is it M1 Pro or M1 Max that he's
There's
got?
M1 Pro and M1 Max, but I think the 14 is running the Max. Correct me, obviously,
So
if I'm wrong, Josh. But
regardless,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
got
yeah.
a monster machine there. So I'm really excited to see some folks tearing into it,
Well,
especially people that.
Kogan was talking it up like it was the best thing for Da Vinci, which to me has
Mhm.
been a life-changing event.
Oh,
Like when you got me
the
to switch
newest
over from
optimizations for
Premiere,
DaVinci are
mhm,
crazy on the M1, let
yeah,
alone anything more
on the Max.
powerful. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And he's talking about like he's like I took the base model of 14 and it just blows my mind the way it performs. And so yeah, very much M1 Pro. Okay, so yeah, Josh went with the Pro on that one. But it's fun. Like I said, it's nice to see tech improve. Apple moving forward with this with improvements. I'd like to see what Qualcomm has to bring into the conversation. I mean, are they going to step up? But there's also that whole concern with Windows because it's a conversation kind of like where you are. Like it's a weird like on the window conversation, it's a little bit more complicated than the way iOS Apple can do it
Mac OS,
on
yeah.
their own on Mac OS. So, but again, very excited. So I'm definitely considering. I still have my i9 what's it called 16, 15.6, 16 MacBook Pro, and that thing runs like a toaster oven. Like seriously, every once in a while I hear the fans turn on. I feel like it's still gonna lift off.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, so
Well,
to not.
we'll have to see. I mean, I feel like my issues with Apple are definitely more philosophical than the practical considerations of the products themselves.
Yeah.
It's whether or not they engage in device scanning and content scanning, whether or not they actually do improve the
Hmm.
situation for right to repair. Because I'm feeling real cynical about their
I
announcement
I
on
was
offering
very,
repair
I was
plans
happy for like zero point
to
0.5 seconds,
consumers.
and then I started reading it. I was like, this is a past job. This is not really
It
the right to
feels like
repair.
a way to make Apple's image better
And them
without
still making
providing
the
much
money.
consumer benefit.
Yeah, no,
And
no,
this can now be an argument that they use with lawmakers to say, you don't need to pass right to repair legislation.
because we
We
already gave
make
it to them.
parts accessible, even if that's not completely true. So, again, I want to believe that Apple is going to do right by their customers and actually improve on this stuff. But
Hmm.
we've had so many examples of Apple claiming to do this better, not living up to it in any way, shape, or form, but reaping all of the marketing benefits of saying they did. But we've got so many programs for Apple authorized repair centers. That's all garbage. None of that's true. That's all BS. I want to believe that they will, but in the meantime, really, I'm excited to see Apple kind of kickstart some competition where Intel versus AMD really wasn't getting it done.
Hmm.
Qualcomm has been in a holding pattern for a while, and now we're seeing a number of other companies saying, "Hey, you know, we've got to shake things up."
A
And
little bit, yeah.
that's always going to be better for the consumer to have those kinds of choices.
I love it. No, no, I seriously, I do love that. And there's like I said, there's a lot of things going on. I know there's a lot of more things coming up. I know your video's coming up tomorrow. I'm going to try to do justice and interview Finbar tomorrow and just have it,
You're going to
have it
nail
come up
it.
pretty good.
We all have faith in
And
you.
I
It's
pre
going to be
no, I
great.
absolutely and the fun thing is like, coming in and with everybody at MediaTek knowing me and we've worked together for quite some time, but it was more like, the head of marketing, the head of PR, all of them like, hey TK, how's it been? We haven't seen you for a couple of years. Like it just feels nice. it is that little nice thing. So, and then getting a chance to hang out with Juan. Like I said, the best thing that would have been today, on top of everything, is to have you with us here. So I'm hoping to be able to work that something out for next time. It's so local, it's crazy. Although the drive was crazy bad, let's just say that. It took me almost
Really?
3 hours to come down here. I made the
Oh,
mistake
snap.
of leaving at 3 in the and
Oh,
I
yeah.
hit every single pocket of traffic, and then Google Maps was like routing me through surface street levels in the middle of that, some areas I have no idea where I was. But so I made it like a little bit late, but it was still, like I said, it would be really nice to hang out and get some, to get the crew back together. Let's just say that.
We're
Um,
getting the band back
we're
together.
getting the band back together. But with that being said, we're getting to that magical time where NVIDIA Studio is geeking out on Juan holding a
It
cup.
just wigged
It's
out.
just
That
like,
was amazing.
I was like, what's wrong? Um, I would say for me, the best of my week was obviously the MediaTek event, getting a chance to go out and hang out with some friends and be able to, have a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, being, independent not contractor, the creator, as it would be, and getting the support. Like I said, MediaTek was very stepped up, and I was very happy that they were willing to to work
Oh, for
with me
sure.
directly, and like I said, very much. And then for you, I guess would say best of your week would be, I mean, what would you be, yeah, how can you,
The
obviously,
best of my week was the exact same, TK.
I'm
You've been working your
so,
ass off. I am stoked that on your own terms, on your own merits, and again, just as I think the perfect validation of all the work you've been putting into the communities that you've been building, the best of
thank
my
you.
week was you kicking ass at this MediaTek event, and I'm really looking forward to the interview that you're going to be cutting because I think it's going to be a wonderful conversation on some nerdcore
Absolutely.
technology. So
It's a lot of fun to be able to speak to the, like I said, this level of approach, because we work with OEMs all the time, but to get to work with the manufacturers of the SoC, that's always there. You can keep getting recognition you deserve pay. I love Aditya, man.
I love a good long hashtag, and I feel that
I
one's accurate.
you nailed it, Aditya. You nailed it, my friend. You did better than the movie last week. I'll say that much.
I love it.
But with that being said, I will say this: just do the best that you can. Be the best that you can, and if it does get a little bit hard, honestly, life is ups and downs. Where it goes down, it has to come back up. You just have to ride it, and hopefully friends and family will help you see the light at the end of the day, because it does get dark sometimes, but you know what,
For sure.
that's how life is. But with that being our life, so thank you, Juan, for taking your time and
Thank you,
hanging out with
Gabe.
us after a 2 hour marathon, making it a 3.5 hours, almost four. I promised them a short one, and I apparently did not deliver on that one.
That's that's on me. We got into it. It was a good
It was a fun
conversation.
chat. It was a fun chat. So please make sure to check out the audio podcast. It will will obviously be links to that in the description below. It comes out about a day after the show. If it sounds really weird because we were pointing at pictures, we do apologize. The video is still going to be up. But thank you very much. Take care. Be good and stay well. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of the Best of Our Week and the SGTQA on Monday. Don't forget that. Hanging out with myself also on Saturday morning and Mr. SGTQA himself. Take care,
Heck yeah.
everybody. Good night, everybody. Bye bye.